Hello, and welcome to Wesley United Methodist Church of Trenton, Missouri. Our church is located at 113 East 9th Street, which is on the corner of 9th and Washington in Trenton, Missouri. You can call our office between the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday at 660-359-6762, or visit our website at wesleyunitedmethodist.us. Now we invite you to open your heart, mind, and body to the Word of God with Reverend Barry Boulware.
I promise you that's the last offering of this year. Thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness. I read now from Matthew's Gospel. We're in the 2nd chapter, and we begin with the 13th verse. When they had gone, the wise men had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," the angel said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for your child to kill him." So Joseph got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. "A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they are no more." After Herod had died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph once again in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel, for those who are trying to take the child's life are now dead." So Joseph got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he had heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled what was said through the prophets, "He will be called a Nazarene." May God truly bless this holy written word. Please be seated. How many times have you been unsafe? It might be a question that you've never asked of yourself. And so I asked myself that very question this past week. Have there been times when I was unsafe? And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. And sadly, most of those times are times that I brought on myself. There are numerous times when I crashed on my mountain bike. There are the times when I was in seminary down in Dallas, and it was time to drive for Christmas back to Rockport, where the parents were. And I drove through a real nasty snowstorm all through the state of Oklahoma. There was the mountain climbs that I went on with my boys. They were safe, but I was the one who was in trouble. There were the many, many times as a late teenager when I drove way too fast. All of these experiences have something in common. I was pushing the envelope each time. They were all chances that I took that I didn't need to take. Sometimes we grow up later in life than others do, and I know that that is the case with me. But this much we know for sure. No one is safe all the time. This will be the last message in the theme, Miracles Are All Around Us. We've taken each story that contributes to the birth narrative itself, and we have looked for a miracle within that series of smaller stories. Now, to be sure, the birth of God's Son, born to humankind, is the most important miracle of them all. But each of these secondary stories played an important role that contributed to the Bethlehem birth itself. Today's story happened soon after Jesus' birth. Joseph had another dream, and an angel spoke to him once again. You'll remember the previous dream that he had. It was simply this. The angel said to Joseph, "You better start believing Mary's story because it's true." Now that the baby had been born, the angel this time told Joseph that their son was not safe. So he must pack himself up and take Mary and their child and head for Egypt. Why? Well, because King Herod was a threat to all the male babies. The wise men had stopped in Jerusalem on their way to Bethlehem and asked Herod where the newborn king could be found, that they had been following his star, that the prophecy was for them to follow that star all the way to the newborn king. And Herod, as you remember, summoned all of his priests, and they all said that the scriptures said that the Messiah would be born in the town of Bethlehem, the city of David, where David himself, God's most favorite king of all, mistakes and all that David made, God's most favored king. Read Old Testament, it is clear God loved David of all the other kings, that is where the Messiah was to be born. And then they were supposed to report back to King Herod. Well, when they did not report back to Herod the actual location of Jesus' birth, Herod was angered, and he knew that he had been fooled by these wise men. So he issued that decree for all young male babies to be put to death. It was not safe for a number of families in Bethlehem, and it certainly was not safe for the royal family. Now, if you read Genesis and Exodus carefully, you'll discover that Egypt was not a beloved country for the people who eventually settled the Promised Land, namely the people of Israel. The stories of Abraham and Jacob and Isaac and Joseph reveal this clearly. So it would seem strange that the angel would tell Joseph to take his family back to Egypt for safety. But that's exactly what the angel instructed Joseph to do. Egypt was now far safer than Bethlehem. It wasn't safe, but it would be safely unsafe. How long did Joseph and his family live there in Egypt? We don't know. The only clue that we have is that when King Herod died, that's when the angel spoke yet one more time to Joseph and said, "It is now safe for you to come back to your land." Historically, we have a round idea of when that King Herod passed away. But how long were they actually in Egypt? We don't know. And so the family moved to Nazareth, where Jesus was raised into manhood. We live in an unsafe world. I don't say that to frighten anyone, and I certainly would not want to frighten any children. Sooner or later, every child's knee is going to get skinned on that sidewalk. It always happens. I was back in school in elementary and junior high and high school back in the 1960s when warheads were aimed at the Soviet Union and theirs were aimed at us. We lived about an hour from the Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha. That city, Omaha, was considered ground zero for an attack because it was the headquarters of SAC Command. We students, we practice regularly that drill of crawling underneath your desk in case the town sirens were to go off. Several people in town actually built bomb shelters in their homes. Safe? Safe from an attack in Omaha? No. But I think crawling under our desk made us feel safer. I won't turn this sermon into just a negative fear-mongering type of message. So I won't compile a list of unsafe things that confront us. Suffice it to say that the world itself isn't always safe. So there are precautions that we take all the time. Earlier this year, I took that shingles shot. It's one of the advantages of getting into your 60s. I keep looking for more advantages. I took that shingles shot. That is a precaution. Soon I will put my snow tires on. That will be another precaution. We repetitiously remind our children, don't ever get into a car with a stranger. We remind them, wash your hands before you eat, avoid people with the flu, and it's time for bed because you need plenty of rest. These are all precautions, aren't they, that we tell our children. We live with these precautions to help make things safer. Maybe the best we can ever expect is to try to make life safely unsafe. This much I believe, and I believe it with every ounce of my heart and my mind. Joseph isn't the only one with an angel watching over him. I believe there is an angel for each one of us. In my younger years, I think my angel was heavily overworked, and I'm not proud of that. But I am thankful, and I am not nearly wound as tight as I used to be. Today I have a deeper appreciation of my blessings and the opportunities in front of me. I need an angel to watch over me. I don't take chances like I used to. When I look back upon my earlier years, I wonder, how could you have been so ignorant, so foolish? It's not that I was blind to chance. It's just that I was always stronger than what those chances were up against, or at least I thought. I have learned to secure every advantage today that I have at hand. Why? Because we live in a world that at any moment can prove to be unsafe. And with the angel's help that I believe is assigned to me, we can at least hope that we are safely unsafe. I share with you a personal story that happened just this last week. Peggy went in on Wednesday for her third round of chemo treatment. And as you know, a patient that has chemo, they put a PICC line in. They can do that in the arm, they can do that here in the chest area. That's because they have to get into the bloodstream so often, and not just during the treatment itself. Well, this PICC line's been giving us a little trouble. He hasn't been real cooperative at times. And so we walked into the hospital at 7:30 on Wednesday morning, and they started to try to use that PICC line, and it just wouldn't cooperate. It wouldn't draw out any blood, and it wouldn't allow any solution to be forced into the vein. We were given kind of a semi-PhD on PICC lines at that moment, and the nurses tried absolutely everything they knew to do, but to no avail. And so in our minds, Peggy and I were thinking, oh my goodness, this means we have to make another appointment with a hospital down in Kansas City. We'll have to wait for the chemotherapy treatment to be able to do that. This is going to delay all of that. This is just horrible, just horrible. And then the nurse said, you know, our hospital has been sending one of our own off to be trained to do the PICC line. She said, I don't know if she's received all of that training, if she's certified to do that yet, and I don't even know if she's in the hospital. And so we said, well, let's see, let's check. 5 minutes later, that lady came in, and yes, she had been certified to do this. She hadn't done the procedure very much. She was certified, and she was prepared to do that. Well, the first thing that you do, if you're going to get a new PICC line, is you have to bring the old one out. And so I sat there and I watched this long, long tube come out of PEG. And guess what? At the end of that PICC line was a blood clot. A blood clot. And that's why the line itself had been stuck. Here I had been so worried about delaying the whole chemo treatment. There were other things to worry about, weren't there? And I didn't even dream about other things. It has a way of humbling you. It has a way of you realizing how blind we are to the way God's angels have a way of being there for us at just the right moment and for all the right reasons. I can't tell you how thankful I was when that darn line came out and we brought out a blood clot. Well, that was about 12:30. By 3:30 in the afternoon, she was done with her treatment and she was home, all ready to get sick again. Bless her heart. I really believe there are angels that are assigned to us. I've never met mine. I've never seen mine. But I look back upon my life and I think, boy, by the grace of God and by the blessings of God, truly go I and my children and my wife and so many of you. The miracle in today's text was the warning of the angel given to Joseph. Get up, take your wife, take your newborn son, and go be safely unsafe in Egypt. How many times has your angel spoken to you and spoken in this way? No. Go. Wait. Stop. How many times? Too numerous to count, aren't they? And yet there was God, and He was there for you with that right message at that given moment in time. And each time it was a message given for your best interest. And you thought you knew your best interest. But God knows better. And each time that message given to you is given for your own safety. Read the book of Revelation. God has no shortage of angels. If every human being on the face of this earth had an angel, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to God's whole host of angels. As we begin a new year, perhaps a worthy resolve for each one of us is to try to listen to the angel who watches over us. Amen.
Thank you for joining us on our pre-recorded Sunday morning service. If you would like a copy, you can contact the office at 660-359-6762 or email us at wesleyum@sbcglobal.net. Feel free to visit us in person or online at wesleyunitedmethodist.us, where you will always find open hearts, open minds, and open doors. May the blessings of Jesus Christ be upon you in every aspect of your life.